Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast. My name is Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and in these weekly videos, I go over the astrological energies for the week ahead. And in this video, we will be going over the charts for January 22nd to the 28th, 2024. So let's get right into it. So coming into the week on Monday, we are coming off of that dynamic Sun-Pluto conjunction that took place on the 19th and 20th at 29 degrees, 59 minutes of Capricorn. So we are about to see a lot of things ending and exposing when it has to do with the structures of our world, like our government, corporations. There's definitely going to be a lot of secrets revealed. There is a lot of light shining on those elements of our world that are hidden beneath the surface. And I think that's very significant and very important. So we'll start to see a lot kind of brought to the surface over the next few weeks for sure. Now, in your own personal life, I have posted a video about the Sun-Pluto conjunction and how it's working with the Jupiter-Saturn energy that happened back December of 2020 when Jupiter and Saturn formed a conjunction at that 29 degrees of Capricorn, and then also that 0 degree point of Aquarius, which so is the Sun and Pluto. At the time of me recording this video, actually, the Sun has just entered Aquarius, and in just a short few hours, Pluto is going to enter Aquarius, and they will form a conjunction at that 0 degree point. And this 0 degree point of Aquarius is very significant. I might be making a separate video just going deep into this 0 degree point of Aquarius, because we need to understand that Aquarius rules the collective, the people, humanity, and we are about to see a lot of people rising, like protests, possibly riots, because we will have a Mars-Pluto conjunction, which can become very volatile. So we want to watch for that and be mindful of that. And it is something that we may see in our world, right? Now, on Monday, we have the moon in Gemini, and the moon in Gemini is a very quick energy. It's also, there's a lot going on. And so having the moon in Gemini can bring up a lot of emotions where it's very hard to pinpoint why certain things are showing up for you. And earlier in the day, that moon is going to form a square to Neptune, making things even more confusing than they already are. And there is almost, for a split second in the day, and this chart is for roughly about 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but there is like this T-square taking place between the moon, Venus, and Neptune. And so this can really be bringing something to the surface. And I've posted a full moon video because this week we have the full moon in Leo, going deep into our belief in ourselves and the process and our journey. And this is where it can really be triggered and activated. Having Venus at that 29th degree of Sagittarius can really be bringing something to the surface for you where you are having to ask yourself, do you believe in yourself? Do you believe you can do it? Do you believe in the process? Do you believe in the story that you are creating for yourself, however that looks like for you? And I feel like on Monday, that's where it's activated, and this is where that trigger can kind of take place. Now, also, this is we have Mercury finally out of shadow, which is great. So Mercury is now in new territory in Capricorn. Capricorn being that hard work, dedication. Now we can finally get our mind right and focus to start building and creating and tapping into this Saturn-Jupiter sextile, which I love. And remember that the Saturn-Jupiter sextile is something we're moving through. Jupiter and Saturn are they're kind of dancing along these degree points together for quite a while. I think it's actually like about a month. They are, at this, these degree points. But even once like Saturn gets to 6 degrees, they do get closer together. But this is an energy that we're in for quite some time. And this is an energy we really want to be harnessing and moving forward with, because this is beautiful for creating something long lasting and sustainable. And this is also a milestone to that Saturn Jupiter conjunction. So whatever was initiated December of 2020 at the time, and the interesting thing is that Sun Pluto conjunction is that Sun and Pluto conjunction is also working with that story Aquarian energy. But whatever, idea you had or whatever you were thinking about implementing, because the conjunction is what initiates the, 10, 15, 20, 30-year story that's going to play out between these two planets, and not just Jupiter, Saturn, but whenever we have, a conjunction like this with the outer planets, this is, it's a story that is starting, and then there's the milestones when you get to the sextile and you get to the square and then the trine. And so whatever was initiated or whatever you were thinking about, because this is the seed being planted at that conjunction back in December 2020 at 29 degrees at Capricorn, whatever intention you were setting or whatever idea you had, this is now more to the story, but obviously in different energy, right? Because now we have Saturn and Pisces, but it still is working with, that energy, Jupiter, Saturn having this sextile. So there's an opportunity coming in for whatever you were thinking about starting back then, or whatever energy you were in back then, whatever you had going on. Now is the opportunity coming in for you to start moving forward with that, to start building, to start creating. So it is interesting how these planets do create some type of story, and this is the first milestone to the Jupiter Saturn story that will be playing out. And at the same time, the fact that we have this Sun and Pluto working with that energy as well is what is bringing in that powerful, intense energy to work with, to create, and to build. So I really wanted to just mention that. Now, once we get to Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024, we will have the moon enter Cancer. And also Venus enter Capricorn. So Venus is now in Capricorn, adding to this Capricorn energy. We also have Mercury moving closer to Mars. So now is, on Tuesday. And this chart is for roughly 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, in case you're wondering. Now, Mercury is going to be moving closer to Mars throughout the week. That conjunction will happen later on in the week. So we will start to feel a buildup when it has to do with our mind, our thoughts, communication, all those mercurial themes and topics. And then Mars this is a very powerful Mars. Being in Capricorn, Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So this is a very strong Mars energy, which is great for motivation, willpower, drive, taking action, moving forward with something. But we have to balance the energy out, because this can bring on a lot of overthinking, a lot of thinking too much, overthinking, and then that can prevent you from moving forward. So we want to watch for that. This can also bring in some conflict, volatile conversations, which again, it's going to build up throughout the week, which can, lead up to almost like a breaking point. So we do want to watch for that as well. Now, let's get to Wednesday, because Wednesday, there's not a lot going on Wednesday. We still have the moon in Cancer. We have, and then again, still that Saturn Jupiter dance. At this point, though, we have Mars move to 15 degrees of Capricorn, forming a square to Chiron. And on Thursday, when we have the full moon in Leo, we still have this square to Chiron. And that full moon is actually forming a T square to Jupiter, which we'll get into in the next slide. But this is where on Wednesday, this is where that trigger can take place. And something can be triggered here around an old wound, vulnerability, hurt. There can be something triggered here, because Chiron represents our wounds, where we are vulnerable or where we are self-conscious of something. And so this is where, having Mars square Chiron is where something can be triggered for you. Then we get to Thursday. Now, I have posted a video about the full moon that we are having in Leo, and I get into all 12 rising signs, so you can check that out. But that full moon is forming a T square to Jupiter. And I talk a lot about how that full moon is something, it's almost too, whatever was triggered on Wednesday with this Mars square to Chiron can really be bubbling something to the surface where you are able to pinpoint and have a better understanding of where you hold yourself back due to lack of self-confidence or not believing in yourself. That is what this energy is really screaming to me. So pay attention to what is showing up for you at this time. This could even be, having a conversation and something is said, unconsciously, not necessarily like somebody is meaning to hurt you, but something can be said and you're overthinking what was said. And that's triggering like some old wound or old, insecurity to bubble up. And that can really come to the forefront with this. And you're going to have to move through that and ask yourself, am I believing in myself? Why is this showing up for me? And really release it and let it go so that you can move forward with that confidence and courage and all of those Leo elements, right? Moving forward with self-confidence, believing in yourself, believing in, that you can be successful, believing in the journey and the process. And I feel like there can be something triggered on Wednesday, but then it almost like comes to a head. But then even once we get to, hold on, let's move forward to Friday is when we have that Mercury Mars conjunction. So and this is where, again, I kind of already have mentioned this, but we can be really getting in, you can be getting in your own head about something, like overthinking something because of something that was triggered with that Chiron energy. Sorry, I needed some water. um, if something may have been triggered, earlier in the week with the Mars square to Chiron. And this is like an overthinking of that, where you're really allowing it to affect you. So you do want to be careful of, not overthinking, not creating, and the thing is too, is like this energy being in Capricorn, it's an energy of a determination. And I even like, I'm feeling, it's like, well, I don't care what, it's almost like, I don't care what, it's like not caring, but you're self-sabotaging. Like I'm not able to like put words to what I'm feeling. I struggle with that, but it's like not caring about whatever, but just like not doing it because you're unconsciously self-sabotaging. I hope that makes sense by your thoughts. Like you're getting in your head too much. I hope that makes sense. But also to coinciding with this energy, we have a Venus, we have Venus entering the conversation between Saturn and Jupiter. Like Venus is approaching that trine to Jupiter, forming a sextile to Saturn. So where we have this trigger and this like overthinking, if you can get out of your head, there really is beautiful supportive energy here to start building, start creating, start moving forward, and also heal and like bring that healing element, like whatever you're doing spiritually, energetically, you're able to bring that into the physical world, their physical reality. So if you're able to almost like, I don't want to say control, but if you're able to keep your energy, vibing high, when you have thoughts coming in, or you can feel your vibration lowering, if you're able to have that self-awareness and catch that as it comes in and transmute it, there's beautiful growth here. There's beautiful supportive energy to make that the norm instead of you always overthinking, self-sabotaging, and whatever. You're actually able to reprogram here so that you're not doing that anymore. And I hope that makes sense. And then we get to Saturday, January 27th, 2024. And I chose this chart because, once the moon enters Virgo, the moon is going to form an opposition to Saturn, but that's not going to happen until we get to Sunday. But there is a kite configuration with the moon, which is interesting. So the moon, once the moon forms that opposition, which is going to be, you're going to start feeling it on Saturday, where the moon being in Virgo, which is wanting things to be a specific way, wanting, the details, wanting to organize, wanting to lay everything out and know and understand the direction that you're moving in. I really love this. It's just that once we get to Sunday and we have that opposition to Saturn, there's going to be some balancing out. There might be a need to release the grip you have on the situation, if that makes sense. So, however, this looks like for you, the moon is connecting beautifully to Venus and Jupiter, which is really bringing in some beautiful supportive energy to ground something in, to create something solid and beautiful. But once we get to Sunday, and we're also still working with that Mercury Mars conjunction, so we want to be mindful of that. But once we get to Sunday, January 28th, that energy will become more intense. And we also have the Saturn moving to 6 degrees, which is bringing that sextile to Jupiter closer. And then even Venus is at 6 degrees. So that conversation becomes even tighter, which this is a good energy. This is really good supportive energy. And we also have Uranus stationing direct on the 26th and 27th as well. So if we go back up, yeah. Friday, it's like really, really, depending on your time zone, it's really late Friday or really early Saturday. We have Uranus stationing direct, which at this point now we have all planets direct. So now we have that supportive energy to start moving forward, to start implementing. We also have Mercury Mars approaching a trine to Uranus, which will be felt, especially with Mercury and Mars being at that degree point at the time that Uranus stations. So this is where again that Uranus energy is playing into like the overthinking, over analyzing, getting in your own way. But this can actually also bring in some like unexpected volatile conversations, but it is a trine, so it's an easy flowing energy. There could be, some really beautiful, powerful insight coming in that you're able to transmute into, like, not transmute, but play out in your physical reality. I hope I'm explaining that correctly. But let's go back to Sunday. So now we have, by that end of the week, we have all planets direct, which is nice. Now it is go time coming into February. Now is the time to get things going, especially while we have Venus, Mars, and Mercury still in Capricorn. Now we will still have the Mercury Mars conjunction on Sunday. So we are moving through that for the good portion of the end of the week. But we also have, it's like the energy Saturday plays into Sunday because we have the moon in Virgo. Once that moon enters Virgo, we're dealing with a whole different energy. We're coming off of the full moon energy. The moon is now in Virgo. Now we're wanting to get things in order, straighten things out, whatever was triggered around belief systems and lack of self-confidence. It's like you've figured it out now, and now you want to start moving forward. Now you want to start implementing and you're planning things out. And I love this energy. I love this energy. I really do. The only thing is at this point as well, I just realized there is a T-square to the nodes. So this is tension with direction or a choice that needs to be made. I didn't even notice that before. That's another energy actually that's going to be building up to the end of the week. We can see that once we get to Friday and Mercury and Mars reach that 16 degrees, we will also feel the build up to the T-square to the nodes. The north node represents a direction we're moving into, and the south node represents something we're releasing and letting go of. So come the end of the week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there can be a buildup into choosing there's a choice or a direction where it's really powerful to having that Mercury Mars, and it can be very overwhelming mentally. So that can definitely be something difficult that we're all having to navigate. So it'll be interesting. But what's interesting here though is I would not be surprised collectively if we're hearing a lot of information, especially too coming off that Sun Pluto conjunction. Pluto now being back in Aquarius. I would think there's going to be a lot of news coming out next week, a lot of information that could be quite shocking too, especially with that trine to Uranus. So collectively, I think we'll be seeing a lot, especially once we get to next weekend. But I hope that this helps you navigate the energy for the week ahead. Let me know if you like this kind of chart format. It's different. I find I still do kind of use my intuition, or do you guys just prefer the audio with no charts? Let me know in the comments below. I like kind of walking through the charts so I can demonstrate certain things for you all. But thank you so much for joining me, and I will connect with you all in the next one.